So I'm down here in the Gold Coast, and so you have a couple banks, but there is no Northern Trust. But if you're doing international banking, that is a great bank to do international banking. Citibank. Truly. Now, your regional banks, they're opening up a Wintrust. So, depending on what you're doing, say you're a business, you do domestic, say a lot of local business, Wintrust is a great bank. It'll have much more presence domestically, meaning locally in the Chicagoland area, much more than Citibank. But if you're doing things globally, you would have Citibank. So if you're doing things domestically and globally, you'd actually have two banks, maybe three banks depending, maybe even four banks, depending on what you're doing and where you're doing it. So this used to be Barney's of New York, and now it's Cartier. But does Cartier have more than watches, and is it just jewelry, or do they have clothing? Now, I know Prada doesn't, but again, I guess Cartier, Prada, and all these go together well. Then they offset each other. So if you go into Prada, you're going to buy Cartier, right? And then here's the Wintrust, and they're opening up a presence down here. But like I said, Northern Trust would be smart for them to open up a presence right down here in the Gold Coast. And so you have the restaurants in this, and this is the triangle. Here's where State and Rush meet. Rush runs on an angle, State runs straight, and it meets here. And the bottom end of the triangle is Oak Street. And here is where they're doing the Wintrust over here. It said Wintrust on it. So Wintrust, new branch coming soon. So you can see it right there. So they're opening down here. And so let me keep on moving. And so you have some T-Mobile and that off. This is kind of like Times Square. So you have Times Square in New York. Well, the Gold Coast is like Times Square. Times Square is much bigger because New York is much bigger in population. The Gold Coast is equal to New York's Times Square. So, again, they're relevant. So the Gold Coast is a small New York Times Square. So, anyways, it's smart to open up some banking down there, and then you're right off the Magnificent Mile. And again, having a banking presence up here as well, where people, Sears didn't open up a bank. They opened up Dean Winters, they opened up an insurance company, Allstate, and you could do your stocks and your socks and stocks. So you go in and you shop for your clothing and that at Sears, but you could also sit down at a Dean Winter branch inside of Sears, and you can do your property casualty insurance and so on inside of Sears. So they had Allstate and Dean Winter. Really, it's nice that if you see the grocery stores, like they used to have the TFC used to be in the discount grocers, and now there's Chase inside the grocers. But those grocery store inside banks, they don't do well integrating the grocery store with the shopper, with the retailer. So people should go into the grocery store and then step right into the bank, or having the bank right next to the grocery store, or having the bank in the shopping center makes sense. But getting people to thinking that I'm going to go to the shopping mall, I'm going to stop in the bank. And so, CDs are coming out and many other things that they can go into the bank. And so banks need to get more physical traffic again. They don't get that much inside physical traffic. The one thing with the ATM and that, they could have put the ATMs inside the bank. And getting rid of the tellers at the drive-thru was further distancing them. And now the ATMs are taking care of the transaction. But I would have both ATMs and what? Tellers. Tellers, the ATMs shut down when the tellers are working. Truly. And after hours, the ATMs take over. So you can pull up